Good afternoon. This is the Shoflo's Customer Spotlight webinar. This is our second one. We're doing these every week, 2 a week, really. Webinars, it's been really great. We've had great response, averaging like 150 to, I think today there's almost 300 people registered. So we won't get a whole 300, but we're expecting to get, plenty. So that's exciting. And just on the front end, I want to say hello and we welcome you here. This is all about, getting an opportunity for our customers, specifically today, Kyle, to just walk us through how you're using the software. We're all kind of in a just sort of a bummer situation right now, and can't do anything about that. But what we can do is we can use this time in a way that can be productive. And so that's what today is all about. So with that, let me first start by introducing our guest, Mr. Kyle Campbell, Director of Game Experience over at the Saints. And he's been there for, let me get this right, 6 seasons now, is that right?
Yep. I'm going into my 6th season now, 3rd in this role.
It's awesome, dude. Welcome to the Shoflo webinar, man.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with a couple different things, and then the least of which is like, what do you do? But how you doing? How's your team doing? How are you guys holding up over there in Louisiana?
We're doing all right. Obviously, numbers down here have been kind of nationwide news, a little staggering, but there's no tanks rolling down the streets or anything like that people might expect. Still working from home, operating, for me personally on the NFL side, we're operating on our normal calendar realistically. The draft's still happening as is, free agency still happens, so we're still planning on the season kicking off on time. So I'm really just working from home, but doing everything I should be doing at this stage of the off season.
Yeah, and you guys, I mean, like you said, you guys were already in off season, so this is kind of, it didn't crash into you like the NBA or some of the others, but
correct. Yeah, but I do see, because we do have the Pelicans with our organization where we do. Yeah. I've seen the whole thing with the NBA and the craziness firsthand, and it's pretty outrageous.
Yeah. Okay. Well, bummer, but are you guys staying in sync with your staff and stuff? Are you guys doing all staff, or is it just kind of everyone's kind of using it as a heads down mode right now?
No, yeah, we're still all staff, all hands on deck, going through using WebEx a lot with our things, and Microsoft Teams, do a weekly town hall meeting with our team leaders and everything. So we're honestly communicating now better than ever, realistically.
It's funny, I've heard that from a lot of people and can vouch for it even at Shoflo. While having to go remote, there is some difficulties with it, but at the end of the day, if communication is the strength of your team, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, I'm glad you guys are okay, and but we'll get kicked on with this webinar. Well, dude, so it's NFL. It's kind of fun. It's kind of obviously in the States, and we have a lot of teams that use Shoflo even across the world, across the ponds. But it's pretty big. They go big there in the NFL, so that's exciting. Walk me through it. What is we'll hear a little bit in a second about your journey, how'd you even get into this, but what is the director of game, or is it fan experience? Let's see, game experience. Game experience. What does that mean? What are you doing, game to game here?
Yeah, so I put it simply, first off, that I feel like I get to throw a party for 70,000 people. That is the best part about my job, albeit it's incredibly stressful. Yeah. But I oversee all of our game experience elements, from national anthems to color guards to player introductions you see here, to halftimes, to music, PA announcements, all basically stuff that the fans see in the bowl during game day that's not football on the field is kind of an example of different things that I oversee and work with a lot of different departments within our organization. And I kind of see my role as kind of the middle of an hourglass, where bottom of the hourglass, all the sand is all these different departments that we work with, whether it be partnerships or PR or football operations, community relations, and then it all kind of funnels up to the middle, and then you flip over that hourglass and you push out all that information to all the fans out there. So kind of see us as we're kind of that pinch point. And a lot of people rely on us, myself and my team, to really execute everything to the standards that we've set every week.
And so you've been doing this for 6 years. What's the culture like there? I mean, is fan experience something that's encouraged? Is that a top-down
Mhm.
thing? Or are you guys kind of working from your roles, trying to push newer ideas to change culture?
Yeah.
Like what's it look like?
So the fan experience is number one. Besides winning, first of all, we want to win football games. That's obviously
Right.
the number one goal for everybody, to always want to win games. But then the fan experience side is something that, from the top down of our owner, Mrs. Benson, down through our associates, we're all geared towards getting the best fan experience we possibly can. The last 3 years, we've been fortunate through the NFL's Voice of the Fan surveys. We've been ranked number one in game day experience. And that incorporates parking to concessions to security to game entertainment to the video boards. So that's kind of just an overall an arching thing that we really take tremendous pride in. And then the last 2 years, we've been number one in game day entertainment. And specifically this past year, we were able to really do some cool things. And to answer your question, we do continue, just because we have had that number one ranking. It's not a complacency thing. Now we're obviously in the off season thinking about next year and saying, what can we do to really make that gap even bigger between, keep us at number one, and then between 1 and 2 there. So we're constantly trying to get better each year.
I don't know if I've got a good photo of it, but what's your basic like setup, LED wall kind of setup? Is it more jumbotron in the center? Is it out around the rings, or what?
Yeah, so you can see here on the right side, that's our video board. So our video board is 6,680 pixels wide by 730 pixels tall, and it's also curved on the bottom due to the stands. So some interesting predicaments. We just installed the boards, I believe 5 years ago. This will be our 5th season with the boards. But then below that is our message board that you can see where it says Saints, and then you can kind of faintly see an LED ring. We do not have a ton of fascia LED space, just based on the build of the dome, it being such an older building. It's built in, I think, 75 was our first game there. So the video board is undoubtedly the main focus of everything we do. That being said, the tough thing is that a majority of our suites and all the concourse cannot see the video board. So we have to then produce essentially a second show through our content that goes out to our concourses and suite TVs.
Oh wow! So you a lot of your Game Prez sort of produced content is actually being produced for your like a TV monitor in the suite.
Yeah. So our main video portion on the video board is actually 32 by 9, and that is the same on the suites and the concourses. And then we put some kind of just overlay on that to fill out the 16 by 9 render there.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then do you guys have like something on the opposite side of the dome as well too, or is it just?
Yep, they're the same shaped video boards, okay. Not the exact same output always, because we have different ads based on our partners on either side, but primarily the middle where the video portion is, and then our stat spaces on either side of that space are identical on either side.
Cool. And I think this is a photo of you. You got the nice big old red. This is you right here. But,
yeah. So that's our house controls booth.
Nice.
To my left is our PA announcer. He has 2 spotters up there. To my right is our music operator. This was a picture from 2 years ago, but actually immediately to my right now is one of our associates who operates the Shoflo laptop for me on game day. We'll see that picture a little later. But then, we have our game host that sits behind me, and then also our down and distance clock operators.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah. And hey, real quick, while we're going, now we've got almost 65 people. It's awesome. So if you guys got questions, or we want the questions, so just bring them in, and then JP, who you might be direct messaging with in the chat, he's queuing them up, and then me and Kyle take them along the way. So happy to make this conversation along the way. So just FYI. All right, man. Well, let's go with this journey. I like to start right here. How the heck did you get to being a VJ of an NFL, stadium?
Yeah.
How did you get to this like level where you're at? What a fun freaking job.
So I was born and raised in Connecticut. Went to UConn, where I grew in love with all the sports there, obviously. And growing up in Connecticut, there's not much besides UConn athletics. And started working in the video production department there at UConn. And I was always kind of on the video side of things, and I loved shooting football practices and shooting football games. As you can see, I was a very big, and still am, a very big UConn basketball fan. This was at the Final Four 9 years ago. Then when we won down in Houston. So I loved going to basketball games. I loved doing sports. And then my senior year, the spring of my senior year, I applied. I had mono at the time, and I applied for a job, an internship down here with the then Hornets, and was offered the position down here. I moved down here. I was 21 years old, didn't know a single thing about the city, didn't know a single thing about much really. And I came down here, was here for about 7 months as the video production intern. This is a picture of Mr. Lottery Ball. This was a campaign we did after we had a really bad season, and we're like, hey, we want to win the draft lottery. So how can we get creative and kind of embrace it? Lo and behold, this worked. We got Anthony Davis for 7 years. So this was our whole campaign, and I'm not kidding you when I say that part of my internship was going to grocery stores and different pop-up parties around the city dressed up like this.
That's great, man.
But I thought it was a cool way to be remembered by the staff here and make an impact. And I talked to my current associate about that, and other folks that I've worked with is like, you got to make an impact with things. So following my time down here in New Orleans, I went back, finished my degree at UConn, and then ultimately I landed in Charlottesville, Virginia at UVA, working for the football team there as kind of assistant director of football video services, shooting different things for highlight videos, commercials, the TV show, recruiting videos for the football team, having fun, running out of the tunnel, all the cool stuff, building a lot of cool relationships with folks in Charlottesville. And then ultimately in 2015, I was approached about seeing if I wanted to come back here. And I took the position as the First Saints production manager because we were opening up the new control room and new video boards. I took that in the beginning of the August of 2015. And yeah, I've been here ever since, kind of.
That's awesome, man. All right, so we got a couple pictures here, and then we'll jump into software. Real quick question I got, which I thought was a good one from Mark Anthony. What are y'all's LED boards? Are they Daktronics, or kind of what's your? Do you know anything about
the video board? The video board itself is Panasonic. I believe the LED is DAC, and then I believe the message board is actually Panasonic as well, because we went during the upgrade. We actually didn't upgrade every single thing. Which has caused a little bit of growing pains within that. But I believe that's accurate with things. Okay. I can get answers though.
Cool. Yeah, great question. Keep them coming, guys. So we'll just keep cranking through. So who are we looking at? This looks like what, your PA guy? Or? Yeah,
so this is Mark Romick, our PA announcer. His father was actually the PA announcer for about 45 years. The room we're in is called the Jerry Romick Suite after his father. And then, now Mark also oversees actually all the tourism. He's the CMO of New Orleans tourism industry. Nice. So he knows a lot of people, and we're actually able to utilize him to kind of get some relationships with local folks too, which is cool. But yeah, Mark is great. And as you can see, sometimes I do have to stop him a little bit. Don't say this yet. Just wait. He's probably pointing at a flag here when we do get the calls like that, pointing at a flag and telling him, hold off. But, and then that was Norm, who was our former A1 in the booth, and then Tony, who's behind Mark there, is one of his spotters as well.
Cool. That's awesome, man. So he sits up there top with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys have just got, obviously, the Superdome's just, it's famous, it's epic, and so you guys do a wide range of things. What is this? Is this halftime show? Or
yeah, so this was NFC Championship game last year when we hosted the Rams. I said, obviously, it's the biggest game we can get here that we have control over, so let's go big. And I went to our game in Minnesota earlier in the year, and honestly had seen what they had done for like an on-field concert, and really thought that was a really cool idea. So I said, hey, how do we make this happen in New Orleans? So we got the Yin Yang Twins, which a lot of people will know. The Crunk song Halftime is one of like our mantras, and then Choppa, who's a local rapper, kind of bigger in the 90s, but we brought back one of his songs last year, and it went absolutely huge for us. It was a home run for us. And so we had Yin Yang Twins perform their song and Choppa perform his. And it was a lot of fun. We brought about 350 people down on the field for this. So it was kind of like try to make it a mini Super Bowl like halftime show.
Yeah, it feels like it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gotta bring out the pyro, man. Well,
Yeah,
hey, so
yeah.
we'll move through the next couple slides here a little quicker, but so it looks like you guys are just kind of fooling around up here in the control room, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what this moment was, but yeah, I like to keep things loose. Obviously, what I do and what the team does that's in there, it is very serious. It's all live. But at the same time, like people that know me know that I am rather goofy. I like to mess around a little bit and have fun. So even when things get crazy, I still like to kind of keep things loose. And this is just an example of the view I have during intros there. So as I'm cueing players to my staff down on the field to let players through, this is where I'm looking at, cueing the PA announcer sitting behind me and such.
Pretty epic seat, man. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so this is awesome. I love when Kyle and I were setting up this deck at the beginning of the practice. I was like, thank God. All right, so because a lot of people are like taking photos of the action on the field, and Shoflo didn't make it in. This is your setup. So this is what your view from your
Yep.
seat looking out. Okay, cool.
This is exactly what I see on game day. To the left is obviously or the MIV that I have with program preview, all that stuff, net program in there, certain softwares, whether it be tag board or different things. And then obviously more centered is the Shoflo. You can see in the bottom right, that's the computer, my laptop that actually runs Shoflo.
Oh yeah, down here.
Yep. Yeah. So it's literally just HDMI'd in. This past year, we had one of our associates, Caitlin, who was running Shoflo there for me. And that position is heavily relied upon during the game. I'll get into that a little more, but that position literally is tracking me as we go, listening to my cues, moving things around as we see fit throughout the game. So getting this on this monitor though in front of me was hugely important. And I remember talking with Jack Holmgren at the Jets, and he was saying it's really important to have somebody helping track things and moving the script for you while you're calling the show, because it's incredibly difficult. So, and my counter space is getting minimal as we go on. My KP is pretty big there, and obviously need to have some Red Bull and a little bit of water.
I was about to comment on that. You got the Red Bull, man, just in case.
That was a long day. That was a night game. That was a preseason game. So yeah, so that's the setup there right in front of me, and obviously I have the whole field there through that glass, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty awesome view to be able to really watch the fans, importantly, so you could see how they react to things, because you could do stuff and you could be in a room and you don't see the fields, but until you actually see how the fans react, you don't know what's, quote, successful within that.
Yeah. No, you got to feel the stadium or the, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so just to say it again, it sounds like Kyle and his team actually just take the output of one of the computer laptops, send that into the video system, and then what we're looking at here is the video control room team has actually routed that input to this monitor right here in front of him. So that sounds like what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Hey, man, I'm going to hit a couple questions real quick while we're kind of moving through there.
Yep.
In terms of halftime performances, this is from Kara Boonstra. Does your team manage deciding what those will be, or is that more of a marketing thing?
No, yeah. So I get to kind of oversee that whole thing, and then obviously I get them approved as we go. But with halftime here in the South with us, marching bands are a huge thing. Bringing a lot of HBCUs, local high schools, local colleges. Literally this year we had LSU's marching band to start the year with almost 400 people. But yeah, those are something that I work on. And then also we have obviously certain ceremonies that we do. You saw earlier, it was the Lance Moore Hall of Fame induction last year. This year we also brought back the 10th, the Super Bowl champions from 2009. It was the 10th anniversary. And ironically, we played the Colts this year, which is the team we beat in the Super Bowl. So it all just tied together. It was really cool. The last regular season game of the year, Monday Night Football and everything. But yeah, I get to oversee that with approvals and making sure that it's appropriate for our audience.
Cool. And then in terms of just like, how do you create the kind of in-arena visual content for your LED screens? Like, are you doing that with in-house? Are you doing that in-house? Do you use a graphics agency? And then the follow-up to that is, how do you incorporate probably is what they mean, all the content that goes all together with style? Many thanks. That's from Aless.
So we have a production team that's about 7 or 8 folks that kind of oversee all the content for the video boards show in the Dome and the Smoothie King Center for the Pelicans. And those folks, we have three or four graphic designers that are motion graphics folks that are incredibly talented, and they create a majority of our content. Really, the only thing we outsource is our intro video, which we last couple of years we've used Elite Edge. Prior to that, we used the Famous Group. But yeah, honestly, it's about 97% or so of the stuff that we do is all created in-house. A very talented team that we have here. But so we try to answer the question about kind of the style and incorporating things. We have like a style guide that we do build for every season that we want to try to make sure our graphics and our animations all kind of mimic that. And that goes for the look on tickets to the media guide to things like that. Try to get in this whole incorporate this whole thing together as this one unifying look. So it's not always easy, and it's something that we've improved on dramatically in the last couple of years, and something that we just continue to try to get better at.
Yeah. Well, and I had someone mentioned a good question here earlier, and I want to make sure I reference it. How is it in terms of hearing and feeling the crowd through the class? How is that?
Well, actually, there's next to Norm here, who's in the long black hair. That panel, that glass panel, is actually open, so it actually slides. Okay. So so we do have open air, and I can hear everything. I don't hear how loud it truly is during the game, which is good because how loud it does get, I wouldn't be able to do my job. People wouldn't be able to hear me and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm able to really get a feel for it. And then also the staff on the field does a really good job of communicating, like, holy crap, it's really freaking loud in here. So we get a lot of good feedback with that.
Cool. And just shout out to, that was from John Gandy. How many people are on their game day staff in the control room? That's from Kelly Rafferty.
So in this room itself, this is our house controls booth. Like I had said, there's about, I mean, you can count it there. It's about that plus one. So it's 9 or 10 or so. In our control room itself, I would say it's close to about 22, maybe. I think I print out usually about 25 or so scripts, 25 to 30 scripts. And that's with our replay operators, our LED board operators, our TD, our director, our paint program. We use all these different things. So it's about, I'd say it's closer to about 25 or so.
Okay, cool. And yeah, he referenced there, but so we'll get into this here in the software in a couple more minutes. But so Kyle and his team obviously use the software itself. You can see that in his position, but then they're still printing, which is normal. And we're a big fan of printing because there's a lot of different people and a lot of different appetites and their willingness to engage with the digital versus the printout. So we can talk more about that when we get there. Mm-hmm. All right, man. Well, let's keep cranking. So this is awesome. I love this photo. Tell us about this. What's the story on this one?
Yeah, this was that Monday Night Football game against the Colts when we brought the Super Bowl team back, and luckily Jay Romick, who also the brother of Mark, our PA announcer, Jay had the trophy with him that day because we used it as part of halftime, and it wasn't going to stay on the field, so we got to come up to our booth and we all took pictures with it, and it was a really cool moment. And there's either side of us, as you can see in some of the prior photos, there's glass with suites, and people were trying to like crawl into our booth to get pictures of it and stuff. But it was a really cool moment. I was kind of nervous. My hands were sweating, lifting it with one hand, but it worked out all right.
Right. If this was a live photo, you would see it dropping out of
Yeah. They caught it at the right frame for sure.
Well, cool, man. Oh yeah, so this kind of
me and Reggie took my pose, essentially, is what it comes down to.
Nice. And then this is your team, I think. Is that right?
This is the team of our game day staff on Saints game days. These are the folks that really allow me to do my job and allow our team to execute and get the ratings we do. You'll see here a couple of full-time people with us. Kyle Huber, who runs our Pelicans show, is in the back there. And then our 2 associates, Alex and Caitlin, are there as well. And then the rest of these folks, honestly, some of them have been doing this and part of the Saints show longer than I've been alive. I'm not kidding you when I say that. We were all texting last night because Monday Night Football showed the re-airing of the reopening of the Dome with Steve Gleason's block and everything. And all these folks, besides our Pelicans and Saints folks, we're all there and part of it. And so it was cool to relive what their experiences were through that night. And so it's really awesome to get some people's perspective that have been around a while, but also kind of provide a breath of fresh air with things as well. But yeah, this crew are absolute rock stars, and we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them.
Good looking set of peeps, man. That's awesome.
I wouldn't say that. I never said good looking.
All right. Well, awesome, dude. Well, hey, I appreciate it. And yeah, seriously, guys, he's, Kyle and his team. So what we're going to walk through now is how he uses the software. There's loads of good questions here, honestly, just about your workflow as a producer or director, and even before it's Shoflo. So just FYI, these are some killer questions. We'll try to come back to them here at the end. And we'll run this a little longer than the scheduled time, but we'll give a checkpoint there at the right time to wrap it up for anyone who wants to jump off early. And then just FYI, we are recording this and it's available. We'll make it available to anyone who's registered as well too. All right, JP, I'm going to switch us over, but go ahead and launch the poll, or actually I guess I'm doing that. So let me do that real quick. This is just helpful for us guys to kind of understand a little bit more or actually JP, can you launch the poll? I don't quite see it. This just helps us understand a little bit better, like what and how people are on this call and where they're coming from. That's all this is. So, there we go. What kind of production workflow are you? Event agency, studio broadcast, game pres. I'm assuming definitely loads of game pres on this. But anyways, wrap that up, JP, when you want in 10 or 15 seconds, and then we'll get going from there. All right, and let's go ahead and wrap that up and show the polls results. Sweet. As expected. Hey. Awesome, guys. Well, super pumped. And again, Kyle, I'm sure you're down with this, but if you're not, maybe you will be. But we want to make what Kyle's scripts available to people if you want to get a deeper dive into it. So we can either send screenshots or do PDF exports, but allow you to kind of get a little bit of a closer look on it. But for now, we're just going to guide you through a series of things with how Kyle and how his team uses it. And again, just FYI, this is a team that's 1 year in, moving into their second season. So let's start with that, Kyle. You, for years, right? You've been doing, this kind of stuff for 6-7 years, and all of a sudden you're using Shoflo. Like, what happened?
Yeah, honestly, we've been using Excel for years, and kind of my former boss, Josh Richardson, who had overseen the department for a while, he had built a very well fine-tuned script. It's extremely detailed, and he finally, this year was going to be my year that I was taking over the reins of building the script out. And then Kyle Huber, my counterpart on the Pelican side, came in from LSU with Jason Suit. And as you know, Jason uses Shoflo there, and Kyle's like, oh, well, what do you guys think about Shoflo? Personally, I was like, absolutely not. I don't think I was nervous because I was comfortable with Excel. I knew what I was doing, and wasn't really too gung-ho about learning new software. But I'm not just saying this because I'm on the call with y'all. I'm extremely thankful that I learned everything and we bought into it, because the ease of building my shows each week you can't even put a number on how much easier and how much lighter the load is. Once you build that first show takes you a while, like building kind of that template out. I spent a lot of my July month really kind of taking that Excel document and kind of trying to build it into Shoflo. But once I built that, it is incredibly, incredibly easy week to week to be able to say, hey, we have to tweak this, or let's move this based on seat locations of live shots. I'm sure we'll get into it a lot more, but using the Global Elements Manager, we are literally able to take things, drag and drop as I see fit, and it's night and day compared to what it used to be.
Well, dude, let's jump in.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is 1 year in, so there's things that he's using, there's things that we're obviously have a journey on for anyone who's kind of using our software, and we're always going to be like, hey, next year, consider trying to use this feature more. So what we're going to mostly focus on today is how's Kyle successfully get onboarded and get in between two seasons, which is basically now is a good time to do this for any NFL teams out there. What did you do? How did you accomplish that? And then how did the first season go? So we're going to really focus on that. real quick, Kyle, I'm going to give them just kind of an overview of what we're looking at. So this is Shoflo. This is Kyle's, what we call team accounts. And so really not that complicated. It's literally the name of the team, whatever that is. And then, depending on if you're college or pro sport, you might structure this a little differently. Colleges will do an event per major, sport discipline or whatever you might call it. But because obviously the Saints are just doing their stuff, they call it just their 2019 season. Jump in there. And then walk me through kind of like what I'm looking at here. Why do we have different folders? What's the differences between what I'm going to see on the other side of these?
Yeah, once we kind of got into things with Shoflo and realized the capability, I thought about it. I was like, why not just use it essentially as like a mini server of sorts, honestly, and house all of our documents that we need to go into the script, take those and build them into Shoflo lists or shows or scripts or anything like that. So this within here, so our Champion Square timeline is just Champion Square is our outdoor activation area with our big concert. And Alex, my associate, this was a project I gave him. I said, hey, take this old PDF, this Excel document that we used to use, and let's put it into Shoflo and make this look like it does with Excel to the best of your ability. And this is literally what a task that he would do as an associate every single week. He would build this out, and it's very, very simple. I mean, literally at the end of show, you change the time, the kickoff time, or realistically the time we want the show to end. And then you change all the other times, and it's incredible how easy it is. Really, it's incredibly simple with that once it's all built out there. So
I love that. So basically, again, this isn't even your main game script or your game log. This is like a just for some sort of produced thing y'all do beforehand. But you got your intern in, they just kind of said, hey, this is a safe place, make it better than what it is now.
Exactly.
And they use it as an opportunity to learn. So I think that's awesome, man.
Yep.
All right, so you've kind of like got this flow where you've got your 2019 season, and then you've created folders. So just FYI, you can create a lot of things in Shoflo, but one of which is, go figure, the folder. And so that's just a way to house multiple, essentially, documents or game scripts inside.
Yep.
That's what you got here with the chain square timeline. Other ones I see is game script. Obviously, that's the meat and potatoes.
Yep.
So that's kind of where you're. And I like what you're doing here. You're really using the title and the description. You're like using quite a bit of information here to kind of make it stand out. How did you get there on that?
I just wanted to be detailed with things and just make sure there's no confusion ever within our scripts. So I just made sure I just changed it as I went throughout the year and just made sure things were accurate. You'll notice there's a duplicate of every single game called game changes.
Yeah.
This was something that we didn't do at first. After our first game, after moving so much stuff around, I thought, oh crap, I don't have an original script besides an exported PDF. So following that, every game day, or really kind of on Friday or Saturday, whenever the script was finalized, I would duplicate the game. I would turn off the automatic item numbers. So all my item numbers within my printed out scripts still align to the line items themselves. And then this game changes script is the one that I would actually track to within there.
That's interesting. I did not know that. All right, so we'll when we get looking at the script, I want to come back and hit that. That's
yeah.
good to know. All right,
yeah.
And then but real quick, just out here, so we've got the game scripts, and then you've got even your pregame and halftime timelines. What am I looking at here?
That's essentially our production schedule of sorts. If you want to click into one of those, that's our itinerary for our staff, basically our game entertainment staff. It shows literally from the moment we get to the stadium, bands arriving for halftime rehearsals, when fans are coming for flag unfurl rehearsals, different things like that. And so this is kind of like the Bible of sorts that our game entertainment staff runs by each game day. So, and then we literally have an abbreviated pregame timeline, and in a sense of what elements are happening at what time within the pregame.
Okay, so this is awesome. So you basically, this is more of like what we were talking about on the front end. This is like a production schedule or a pregame. This is like a layer or a level or two higher than specifically which elements are you running during the game. This is more of like this should be happening at this time in general, right? Color
Yes.
guard arrives, security screenings going on, video board rehearsal. So tell me who's seeing this? Who are you actually getting this document to?
This is only going out to about I would say 35 folks maybe. It's about 10 of us of our game entertainment, and then I believe it goes out to our interactive team, our Black and Gold Patrol, we call them. They get it as well. So it's not a whole ton of people, but realistically, like instead of carrying around a 27-page script, as we'll see later, this is much easier to carry around printed, and it's also easier to follow on your phone as well with Guest Pass and all that stuff.
Okay, so then you are using Guest Pass to actually get this to people?
Yes.
Okay, so, and just to point that out, that's up here, guys. And so under the download option, that's where you can do your PDF, your Word, your XLS. Word is for PA script exports. PDF is going to be how you get this to the printed view for like control room peeps. And then Guest Pass, if you're not using that, that's a unique URL where you can actually come in and define which columns you want to pass through to that. They don't have to be all of them by default. Looks like you do have all of them open by default. It's probably because you designed it specifically for that. So then if you copy that link, you can text it, email it, whatever you wanted to. And this view right here does not require you to be a logged in user to get to this view. So it's a very important view because honestly, we don't expect you to invite like 90 people across different disciplines into Shoflo and have a user account. I mean, that's just, no one wants to have another user account if they don't have to. So this is that kind of like quick access to the information, but it is up to date. If you were to make a change from Thursday to Friday, those would be reflected in this URL. So cool, man. I love it. This is really clean. And as you'll learn, one of my favorite things about Kyle's stuff is for only being 1 year in, he's super detail oriented on it. So let's jump over to the meat and potatoes to the game scripts real quick, man.
Yep.
And, walk through that just a second. All right, so looking at your game scripts, we took a look at it earlier. You've kind of got this original and duplicate. I actually have a note on that in general. We do have a saved way, and so you could kind of keep those cleared out, but we'll hit that in a little bit. So we duplicated one of his scripts, just FYI. I don't know which one it was, but
it was a Colts game there.
It was the Colts game? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this one's called the April 7th Shoflo webinar. So this one's, safe for the little ears, and we can get in there and mess with stuff. So let's just kind of like walk me through this. Start really up high, and then let's work our way down. So start with your columns, because obviously anyone who's looking at this on a screen share, this just looks like somebody vomited text on.
Yeah, hieroglyphics.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the columns honestly came off of the prior scripts that we had been using based on our Excel documents. Some of the stuff has been merged. For example, the message board LED columns, those used to be their own separate things. But at this time we've made it one because our production staff came up with this really clever, really effective numeric system for those things. So yeah, the structure is just the way it is, just because. Obviously, production notes I have as that furthest most column on the left there, just because it's kind of the kind of the 30,000 feet in some of the things that you don't necessarily need to read all the way across with. So we wanted to make sure that there are certain things that are hit there, whether it be names for lower thirds, sections for live shots, those kind of like if you were to look at one column, that's the one to look at kind of thing, especially in game. Then we just have our audio and our music, our audio sources, our music column, what's actually on our video board. Sources obviously is Chiron numbers to our click effects machines to live cameras, obviously. So we do all that. It'll seem more structured during in game, you'll see, because pre-game I just need to kind of fill some space with some certain elements here. But yeah, you jump down in game, it looks a lot more structured in a sense of Harris spin to win there on 141. That's kind of like we go across. So the Harris spin to win open is on our Chiron, and then we do a smash transition, and then we do the wheel. One of our sources is going to our north video board, one to our south video board, and then we're actually doing a third source that goes to the concourses. Because like I said, we have to do a separate show sometimes for the concourses and suites. And then next to that is the what our message board and LEDs our operator is, and those are usually remoted to our click effects stuff. So usually with the click of the gold or silver, we call it on click effects, it triggers those. And then obviously to the right of that is our PA announcer column there, our PA script.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I think you guys have just a dynamite looking script. In general, the way we've always approached it is, and it's almost a philosophy at Shoflo, is transparency. We want there to be as much information as available for people to make sure that in the moment when something's happening, whether it's planned or unplanned, you know, they don't have to be scrambling trying to figure out what was that thing. They're able to look to a script and be like, I know specifically what it is. So I think you're doing a killer job here.
And the helpful thing, honestly, is that I didn't want to rock the boat too much of what we had been doing, because our crew was very familiar with our previous script. So I tried to mimic that as best as possible within here.
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of like cruise real quick this rundown. So basically, you have a whole pregame show that's sitting up above, but now we're in kickoff. Looks like you're using color to signify different things. Talk to me about green. What am I looking at with this green row?
So the green is obviously there's kickoff there, but the green below that is honestly, there was no real, it's not like a coding of sorts. It's just something to catch my eye. So before the first snap of our first defensive snap of the game, we run a player prompt, we call it, which we call it set the tone. So it's like, this example is Cam Jordan. It's, hey, we need you every play, and it starts right here, right now. Let's get it going. So we would blow off anything we had to do. If it was a T retriever or anything like that, we said, we need to go. We're going in. We got to get the crowd going. Our fans are known to be loud and crazy and obnoxious. And so we like to kind of light that fire under their butt there a little bit.
I like it. All right. So then you have like breaks, which looks like you're using yellow for that. So that's kind of your visual identifier for a break. Is that the idea?
Yep. And I think that's just from the template, honestly, that when you guys, when I first started building the script, the template just had yellow. So I stuck with that.
Cool. Yeah, there are a lot of templates, just FYI, for teams that Kyle mentioned on the front end. He had it took a decent sized lift to get it going, but you didn't start from scratch. You know, you had something to come from. All right, so we got like breaks here, and then you're kind of doing the timeout over under. Are you using that actually during the game or no?
Immensely, yeah. I mean, well, I'm not within tracking itself. It's big. It's better for me when I'm building the script.
Okay.
To know that how much time I have left, obviously, and I want to have a buffer of things. And sometimes I do inflate some of the durations of some of the elements, but I also know that within the script that there is a little bit of cushion with those things. So, yeah, I mean, I live and die by that timeout over under while building, but during the game, honestly, I use like a baking timer, a little handheld timer in my hands that I set it to 220 because the NFL, we don't have a clock on the field necessarily that's mandated like the NBA does on the hoops. So I use that, I set it, and I go when I hear our timeout coordinator say it punches us out, and I go. And so I keep a flow of things of knowing how much time we have left within the break itself.
Cool. All right. Well, so let me just kind of demonstrate what he was talking about. So in the template, we've kind of got something called timeout over under. See item 150, and JP actually, I think, helped build this. So thanks, JP. So what we use is in Shoflo, there's the ability in any given time, like we do a lot of auto time calculations for you. So this one, we actually overrode and said, it's going to be this timeout specifically, this break is 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So if I just changed that to be 2 minutes, we can actually see here that we're 20 seconds in the red. So that's 20 seconds over based on what he scripted in here. So this Verizon fan cam's got to go, right? Because that's killing us. That's what put us one. Or I need to have them maybe if it's a live cam segment here, maybe we knock this down to 30 seconds. Think 30 seconds. And we're close. We're 5 seconds over. Maybe Kyle's like, I think I can live with that. Maybe he's not, but that's the idea of what he was talking about there with over. So timing's awesome. There's a lot of really like nuances to it, but a lot of value that comes from that. So if anyone has any questions on that and you're currently using Shoflo, we'd love to walk you through how you can upgrade your time game.
And Steven, I'll just one more thing on the timing with that. Having the durations built, and honestly, sometimes I would go back and watch our clips that we do for proof of performance and
Yeah.
truly at an actual time. Like if I know someone's going to be 107, I'll put it as 110 versus 1 minute.
Okay.
But so that duration is incredibly important when we move the script around, which I could talk a little bit more about later.
Yep, totally. Okay, cool. So you got your breaks going on in here, which it looks like from at that point you kind of again are using this kind of timing thing, and then you've got your second quarter. So what am I looking at here with these floaters? Floaters seems to be a thing that we're trying to figure out how to be innovative on and build tools that are helpful. But how are you addressing this concept of like a floater?
Yeah, floaters are literally just items that can happen at any time. Obviously, an official review is a prime example of that, where we have no idea when that might happen. But it's a sponsored element that we have with Microsoft, and so we have to have PA and graphics and everything ready to go for that. So I don't normally track to it if it happens, because it is pretty. Our crew is really good about knowing the situation and knowing what needs to be done with the switcher and stuff and the sources. But yeah, it's just to have things in there within the script, so our team is familiar with it. Then also so we can check them during our pre-game rehearsals. That's the important part. So we know that things actually work, and we're not just skipping over things pre-game.
Okay, so that's helpful. So you're more so putting it in there representative of what could be, but it's not, obviously there's no times here. You've kind of hidden all the times, and you're saying that we're not saying this is a scripted piece. We're just saying that if there was to be one, this is where it would be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it might not even be where it actually occurs within the game, but at the same time, it's just something to have there so we can reference it. Our PA guy has something that he can read if he needs to, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Oh yeah. You got that over here as well too. Cool. Awesome. All right, let's keep cranking through here. So then you've kind of got, let's see, I'm going to use the option down arrow. I was showing this on the last call, but this is by the way, just a quick way to jump from title row to title row. So ready, here we go, option down arrow. And you can see it just jumps your viewport, whoever's the one doing it, to the next major title row. With sports, it's baller because basically you get to just jump from break to break or inning to inning or quarter to quarter. Okay, what about halftime? Walk me through how you guys approach halftime, because I can see a clock time is brought back into the mix.
Yeah, so we do 13 minutes is our halftime, and then this is actually a unique example where usually we have like a jugs machine kind of punt catching contest at the beginning of halftime to allow us to set up for our bands or whatever. But because this was when we brought back the team, we treated it like player introductions and such. And so we actually had a video that we ran there on line 194 that recapped the Super Bowl season. And so we just I try to structure out allotting the time for us to set up their stuff for like the intros of different things and really understanding realistically what the time frame is with those. But so yeah, we structure out how long these different things are. I sat in my office doing the player introductions with my associate, and literally we timed it out. It was about 4 minutes total, and in here you could see the important thing for this was going. If you go over to the PA column, Stephen, it will show you all the guys that we welcome back. So this was the important thing. So we read everybody's name, whether they were there or not.
Yeah.
So that way we tracked with that. And I believe for this situation, we ended up using paper copies for PA because we couldn't afford our Wi-Fi to go out or something like that. So we needed to make sure that we had everything ready to rock and roll on there. So halftime was really cool with that, and building it out within here was helpful because it was easy to structure it. And then we just have some other kind of things in halftime of halftime highlights, halftime stats, all those good things that we build in there.
Love it. All right, so let's zoom out for a second. I'm gonna make a couple notes of just what you can do with this. So these are big scripts, but we like big scripts. So just a reminder, different users can come in and actually hide columns that don't apply to them. So the PA script and column in this particular game script is really driving a lot of that height. But if you're the audio engineer or maybe the Chiron guy, you don't need to see that. And so you could actually hit hide column here. And so we'll show you kind of what that looks like. Boom, all of a sudden that really shrinks down your whole experience quite a bit here, which is nice. And then the other one, and Kyle, I want to talk about who's using Shoflo, who's not. I know you guys are still moving your adoption, but you're early on in that. But on a per user basis, that's the thing, is each user could come in and actually say, hey, I'm the video guy, so I'm going to move my column to the left, right? And then I really don't care about the music, or I don't care about the audio. And so you can kind of see here, for the various roles that you do invite into Shoflo, they can actually kind of optimize their view based on their role, which is cool. But with that, so Kyle, you guys are in your first season, kept it pretty tight. Talk to me about that. Like, I think there was a question that came on here, or what's your adoption look like across your team? Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
So I'll start. I mentioned I do still print scripts, absolutely 100%. Still need to print paper scripts. We print about, I think, 3 or 4 different actual preset scripts. We have what's called the everything script, which is the one that I use, and it's really only like 3 or 4 other people use it. And then we had a field script, we called it, that didn't have PA in it, that to help shrink things down a bit. And then we have a control room one, which was essentially what you just built, Stephen, which was no audio or no music, no PA, all that kind of stuff there. And then I did create a one for our audio operators themselves, the 2 or 3 gentlemen there, that it literally was just an easy way for them to see the only thing that they needed to see there, which were those columns.
Yeah. So I love that. So you guys have really leaned into the improvements we did. If anyone who's, I guess, since give or take maybe August last year, but so we really kind of worked on PDF. We're now able to create presets, which is what Kyle's talking about. And then you could, so basically meaning you can come down here and hide or disable columns, create that view you like, and then save that as a new preset. And then you can continue to have access to that preset, which is cool. Running forward, you can choose whether it's portrait or landscape. So Kyle, you guys more so leaning into you're the author, and creator of game scripts, and then for the most part creating dynamic views, but they're printed, and then you're handing that out to your team. Is that that's kind of the idea?
Yep. And then we also have in our control room, there's a big, probably 70-inch monitor that has the script on it that's tracking me as well live. And then behind me, where our PA game host is, he has a double stacked monitor on top of each other. That on the top is his MIV, where he's able to see program preview, all that good stuff. And then on the bottom, he has one of the views. I believe it's not prompter view. I think it's compact view, where he's able to see PA script and he tracks us. He's really the only one that really relies on us tracking, and we need to make sure that we listen to him, and we can't track to the next item until he is done, obviously, or else he loses his script.
Yeah.
And then we have, it's that one. Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah, so this one's actually, I just want to clarify that. So this is actually a view called featured view. We're really creative with our titles over here. So featured view. And the cool thing about featured view for teams that are curious about this, if you do have the PA script in here, this essentially lets you choose one particular column. Naturally, the PA script's going to be the one that's going to be your kicker, and it loads it up right here. And so what's beneficial there is that this person can then choose to follow along with whoever they want with the show color tracking feature that we've got. And so they'll follow Kyle. Kyle will advance from row to row. And then when Kyle arrives onto a row like this one, they'll already have, it'll be right there in front of them. So that's like the real-time space for it. And then, of course, Kyle's got the option to actually do a word export, which, are you doing that, Kyle?
We do that. Yep. We do still provide a binder with all the PAs. We had a situation this year where our these computers, like my laptop, the computer that the PA announcers looking on, those are all hardwired in for internet purposes. But honestly, God, we had an issue this year where one of them went out. And I had to physically read the PA to my PA guy in his ear from my printed out script. And it was nearly a catastrophe, but nobody really knew. But yeah, we literally were sitting there and I'm like reading every 3 words as he went. And it was, yeah. So we still have the paper. It was just, we weren't able to get to the binder in time kind of thing. And so it was a
Yeah.
learning experience to say the least. But yeah, this is something we rely heavily on still.
Okay, so let me show this real quick, demonstrate this. So this is the Word export. Word specifically lets you choose which column you want to be kind of like big, essentially. And you can even make it large on the front end. You can also pass through other ones, but we're not really going to pass that much. We'll even take out video boards and production notes. So then from there, you can essentially hit download script, and that'll bring it down. And then I won't like go through the whole thing, but essentially we can do a quick preview of it right here. So you can kind of see this is it with the script kind of laid out here. So it's helpful because it's kind of ready for a PA presenter, or sorry, the PA announcer to actually come in there, and it's sort of in the line with their expectations. And if you wanted to, you can actually skip items that don't have any content, which would be basically what I should have done in this scenario. So, okay, cool. 3:55. We're loaded. Let me hit a couple of things real quick for you, Kyle, and then we'll take a break and let people break if they want to. So, Kyle, you're using global elements, which is kind of like a fundamental way of building in Shoflo. Why are you doing that? What drew you to global elements, and how are you doing that on a game-to-game basis?
Global elements were cool because realistically, about probably 95 to 98% of the activation that we do in game is the same for every game, since we only have the 10 home games a year. 11 or 12 we're lucky with playoffs, but because of that, like, I know the same elements are going to stay. We're going to do most of the same stuff every game, but I always try to move them within the script. So I went through, and I didn't use this until probably the second or third game, once we felt comfortable with things with PAs and made sure all the sources and numbering system was all accurate within things. So we literally would, I would take this, and like I'd said, I would build out our live shot structure, and then I would go into the global element manager after I would duplicate a script for the next game. I'd go in the global element manager, and I literally would just drag and move and just piece everything together. And obviously little details here and there had to be moved after that, but to get those big pieces that were in each break, whether that be a live shot for our item of the game or our teacher of the week that we do. Those are kind of like the bigger things that we build a break around. And so trying to really make sure everything was structured accordingly, that it made sense. Our wireless camera operators were able to get from section 124 to 155 within those two breaks that we have slotted. Our host needs to be there, all that kind of stuff. So, but global elements allowed me to just easily move things. Like instead of having to copy and paste cells in Excel and all that stuff, it was incredible. So yeah, like you have here, this is Mike Haas. He's our on-field kind of football person who interviews legends, does all of our football recap stuff. So if you wanted to see any of his stuff, I try to tag things as detailed as possible, and we could see where all his elements were.
So, and then just again, for people who are curious, so the global element manager is basically, think of it almost like a game script that's not specifically tied to one game, but it's more a well of all of your elements that you might run in any given season, and even have been accruing maybe over multiple seasons. So when we're looking at it here, even though it looks a lot like what we look like in a standard game script, the nuance is that, well, besides that, it's just a purple bar up here. That's all. That apparently tells you it's the global element manager. But in addition to that, you've got these tags, and so you're able to sort of build the element out indifferent to the game, associate different tags with it. Maybe in this scenario, you might like not specifically put a name in. It might be like live presenter from, and then you do all underscore. Because then once you're actually built in the game itself, you're actually going to drag and drop these elements in. So I'll demonstrate that temporarily real quick. First of all, this first element, it looks like, based on if I was to publish it, it looks like it's a part of, yeah, you can see here. So these are all the actual game scripts that this element is already located inside of. And so what's cool about that, and I won't do that to, I won't do that to Kyle right now. But if I was to come in here and say, what's up, I could actually push that, and it would publish it across all of those active game scripts. So I won't do that, and we'll just leave it as is. Let it lie be there. So I'm going to quickly over here, guys, up here in the top right corner, there's a jumper, calling it that right now. So you can jump over to a particular game. So we're going to jump over to the 2019 season. And we're going to go into the game scripts. We're going to go into April 7th webinar. And then what we're going to do is I'll switch back over to compact view just to kind of make our lives a little easier. All right, perf. All right, so we're right here on basically, let's do right here above item 21. So I'm going to come up to this globe in the upper right corner. This is your global element manager drag and drop zone. So you're going to open that up and we can kind of see on the left side, I've got item 21 right here, all doors. And then on the right side, I have every element that Kyle has built out in the element manager. So let's say he's looking for some sort of
Harrah's, you can type.
Harrah, like Harrah's Casino?
Harrah's, yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
There you go, cool. So we're like, hey, we got to, I got an extra minute, there's an extra timeout, whatever it is. And corporate sponsorship's been yelling at me all year to throw more Harrah's spin the wins in. So here we go, let's put it in. So I'm gonna put it right there above item 21. And now it's located in there. The way you know it's located is it's purple. So now you'll see Harrah's spin to win is annotated with a number 1. That means it's located once in this script. So then if I hit exit out, we can see right here, there's the Harrah's to win element that we just dropped in. So it's a great example of kind of like, if you wanted to go all in with a dynamic in-game, you can kind of move elements around or drag and drop elements in, et cetera. So Kyle, any comments on that and what I just kind of showed?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's something that, for me, it's really important when we build the actual script. I don't use it too much during the game, but it's building the script, it's huge.
Cool. Well, hey guys, so I'm going to take a quick, like 12-second stop and just say thank you for everyone who joined. We're going to continue on. There are about 20 questions that are ranging from software to just how he works, and I'm going to work through every one of those. For anyone who's curious or has been thinking about this, you can go over to shoflo.tv, and in the top corner, you're going to see under resources, webinars, and this webinar will be located in there. You can also see the Louisiana State University one we've got here. So we'll get that up probably tomorrow or by the end of the week at the latest, and we just encourage you to keep coming back. Also, if you are NFL, come on, try it out. Go ahead and just start a trial. We'll let you play in it for 2 weeks, and maybe we can even load up some of the game scripts from Kyle into your webinar, or sorry, into your trial. All right, dude, let's bounce back into it. Thanks for everybody. Sign up if you need to. We're going to keep going here. Thank you. I've got one from Daniel Zerunian. Do you typically build out your breaks with it either being following an offensive score or while on defense?
So we try to build for what we're coming back to.
Yeah.
So after he mentions after a score, believe it or not, and this is a lot of teams do this, after we score a touchdown, we blow off the entire break. So we play our second line song. We play It's Good by Better Than Ezra, a local band. We play The Saints Go Marching In. We do our whole sequence that we do. And that takes up the whole 2 minutes and 20 seconds of the break. Yeah. That being said, we then have to take those 4 or 5 elements, whatever it might be in that break, and move it and figure out where to fit it in within the game. It's very hectic. But so we always try to script for what we're coming back to. So defensive, you can see break 1 here, I categorize as a defensive break. And I made that way because we have, as you can see, a defensive hype with our interactive team and then our PA announcer kind of thing. We made break 2 is more of an offensive break because it is our People's Health Champion, for truth be told, is a feature on an elderly person, and it's not exciting in the sense of it's not going to get you riled up and ready for defense. So we try to be very intentional about where we script things and what's coming back during gameplay.
Cool. All right, here's one from Jack Craig. How have you handled coach's challenge at the end of a quarter? Which kills the scheduled content for that break, since you have to stay with the Microsoft Surface review element? Question mark.
Yeah. I mean, anytime there's a challenge, I think we might have had one or a review or something going into halftime maybe this year too. We just have to stick with it, and it does. Jack's right. I mean, it it clogs things up and it's not ideal. But yeah, we just have to stick with things and stick with the sponsorship on that and do the review. And realistically, it helps the game. We're there to help enhance the game. And the review or the replays are helpful for the game itself. So we have to focus on those for sure.
Cool. One from Greg Herbert, hey Greg, what's up, man? How many of these sponsored elements are scripted versus added based off of on-field events? Do you script everything regardless of what is happening on field?
Yeah, I mean, everything is built the week leading up to the game. I do build everything out as I'd like for it to be executed. But we always joke, literally if we score on the first possession, throw our scripts out the window because it doesn't matter. And we have to change things so much on the fly. So things are built the way we'd like to see them. But realistically, it is so much changing on the fly and moving the script. That's why that person sitting next to me is incredibly crucial, because literally this year she was taking notes of what we needed to still do while I was calling the game. And say we're winding down a quarter, she's like, all right, we need to do a red zone hit. We need to do this. And then I'm also got in my ear, I've got my live camera assistant saying, hey, we're holding for this and this, and try to balance what we can do. And then unfortunately, sometimes we can't get everything in, all of our sponsored inventory. And that is what it is. I mean, football dictates all of that stuff in the sense that if we score touchdowns, we're not doing our teacher of the week or our People's Health Champion after a touchdown. So we're there to enhance the fan experience for the fans. And so that's what drives that all.
And then Kyle, are you guys doing anything with like proof of performance or run reports or anything like that?
So our proof of performance is nothing. We don't do anything through Shoflo, but we actually one of the associates from our production department will clip off all of our sponsored elements throughout the game so they can put them in season end recaps. They can send them to the partners, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. All right. Jonathan X. I like that. How do you monitor the primary broadcast trucks / network for commercial breaks?
So we have a gentleman on the field. His name's Philip. He's our timeout coordinator, which is a TOC, we call it. And he is standing right next to the guy with the big orange gloves, a gentleman named Walt. And we're able to watch it and see when Philip's on headset with me. So he'll say, network's looking. And that's really the way that I am able to monitor that Philip is our communicator. He's really crucial to us executing things. It's also like there's a flow to the game, and I know that how many breaks are kind of remaining in a quarter. And so if I know that they still need to get 2 or 3 breaks in and we're about to punt and there's 4 minutes left, we're going to go to break because the likelihood is that they want to get all these breaks in as a sign per quarter. So it's our timeout coordinator is incredibly important with that.
I got one from Alexander Gordon. Tell us a little more about how you manage the on-field host script versus the PA script and how they work in unison, and how you manage a field host with a script through Shoflo. So I think we might have hit a little bit of that when you're on the PDF export, but maybe
Mike Haas, the on-field guy, honestly, I print out a clipboard with his PAs. He doesn't usually use Shoflo down there. And then some of the stuff that he does is updated right up to when he's reading it, because it's red zone highlights that we'll dictate for him, that we'll write from our control room. Somebody's in the control room literally on like a notes file, and then that MIV is then down on the field for him to see so he can watch the highlights. And then next to that is the script. So he's physically standing down there, not on camera for this. So that's why we're able to get away with it. But he reads the script as the players are watching there, and I'm in his ear, hey, slow down a second. Okay, we need to speed up, that kind of thing. So Mike is hearing me. He's watching the highlights and he's reading the script. So it doesn't have a ton with Shoflo in that, truth be told. But it's a process that we're always trying to improve on, honestly.
Yeah. And just so educate at least me, MIV, when you say that, you mean?
It's the multi-viewer. So it's
the multi-viewer.
Yeah. So it's the output of all the stuff.
He's seeing that person's notepad open and they're typing, but it's not through the internet. It's through the video routing system.
Correct. It's through the KVM system that we have that what he is seeing is the exact same thing that our PA announcer is seeing, actually, in the box above in the monitor above his script. So those two guys are seeing the same exact thing. So they're able to make sure that they're in unison with things. Because sometimes the guy David in the booth with me will have to pick up with Mike. If it's too loud down in the field and Mike can't hear me, I can see Mike and I see he's not reacting. I'll say, hey, we're going with David up here. So we'll make an audible with that really quick.
Cool. Thought on that just for back of the brain, but if you were to do another setup like what you're doing where the show caller's laptop's going in the video system, you could create a column for that person, take it to featured view, send that to the video system, and then at least then you're benefiting because you get to see those notes too as they're typed in.
I actually do. I am. You're right, but that's actually in my monitor.
You're already seeing it in your multi-view.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Let me go one or two more here. So, Kara Boonstra, what would you say is the breakout of sponsored content in your script versus Saints original content that is solely fan engagement focused? So I think maybe breakout meaning maybe percentages or kind of like what it, yeah.
We are very heavy on the partnership side, honestly.
Okay.
But we try to make those partnership elements as fan engaging as possible with that. And so we don't want people to be taking their phones out every break, all that kind of stuff. We know it's inevitable to an extent, but we want to create engaging content within the parameters of our partners. And honestly, like some people can see partners as a hurdle, and sometimes it can be within sponsorship, but at the same time, we can use them to our benefit to help us. If we're going to do something, if we're going to go do a shoot, say with a partner and a partner's on this element, they can help us get some equipment. That, you know what I mean? Like there's a balance there for sure, but we are a very heavy partner script there.
Okay. Yeah. It's the balance, man. They're the the money that pays for all of the great things,
Yeah.
All right. So this one's from Anonymous. If you have stakeholders, i.e. sponsorship, group sales, etc., that book pregame assets, what is the best way for them to view this information? So in other words, is there a way to view every game and select a few assets that coordinate with the game? They would not have access to edit. Currently, it's a view only in Excel document. Oh, so currently they're viewing this only in Excel document. So maybe, so I guess first let's just break that down, and then maybe you can speak to how you're doing it now, and then I can speak to how I'm seeing other teams handle this. So do you share the game script or the global element manager with sponsorship?
I share the game script with about 75 people once it's completed. Via guest pass and a PDF. So I do send it out to as many people from our music and audio operators to our sponsorships to our senior executives, all that kind of stuff. So it is shared amongst a lot of people.
And just a reminder, that's well, not this one, but that is so. And then is there conversation around that? Do you find that sponsorship comes in and says, "Yo, I don't like my behavior here"? Or?
I meet with them every week prior to the game, usually like a Tuesday afternoon, and we recap from the previous game, and then obviously looking forward to this upcoming week's game. And it's a good conversation because they'll tell me, hey, so-and-so's executives are going to be at the game. Let's please make sure that we do this, that kind of thing. So I have a really, really good relationship with our partnership team that they know they can come to me if certain things like that come up. So I really talk to them a lot about that kind of stuff and make sure that we try to cover as much as possible. But like I said, sometimes we do miss elements, and it was only like 1 or 2 games this year, even though how heavily our script is and how many points we do typically score during a game. So we have that balance that we make sure we're good on.
Okay. And then to break that one out a little bit, is there a way to view every game and select a few assets that coordinate with that game? So I could speak to that a little bit. So right now, there is a way to look at more than one season, depending on, how much Kyle is passing through. But we do have this thing called like event, like a guest pass route URL. It's like the home. But you as a producer of your Shoflo needs to be aware if you're going to produce for that, because otherwise there might be a whole bunch of junk in here nobody needs to see. But in that scenario, yes, you could share this URL if you were prepared for it well. You could share this URL and then they could navigate in and out of the different games. And this could be the URL that you give them at the beginning of the entire season, and it's all sponsorship, and then they're just starting here, and then they're launching into their particular game script. But again, you just have to make sure you're preparing for that and aware of which scripts you've got guest pass on or off. Like, for example, Kyle might not. He needs to go back and actually turn guest pass off for the originals, or who knows. That's his journey. But so that would be it. The specific one you said, and only select a few assets. No, but I would love it if you're on the call still and reach out to JP or us on this little blue chat at Shoflo. We are looking at and exploring different unique URLs for a particular sponsor that lets you pass through certain elements that are related to that sponsor only. So I'd love to get your feedback on the question behind that, what you're looking to tease out with that. Cool. We keep rocking. Are you editing all of the video information in the script, or does someone on your production staff handle that part? This is from Caitlin Reese.
So I work very closely with our production team. They do not enter anything into the script, but I know what the content is coming, and then they send me the videos usually on Thursday or Friday of the game week, and that way I'm able to put in run times. Like, for example, the teacher of the week there on 172, I'm able to see it's 50 seconds, the actual video, so I'm able to really take that and know that, hey, I have the PA on the front and back ends, so it's going to be a 60-second clip. So I'm the only one that inputs that kind of information in there. But yeah, that answers that question.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and again, what Kyle was referencing there is he's really on the takes the approach because it's such a beautifully detailed script that he wants to be the contributor. There are crew that you can have in, and you can give different users different permissions. So, for example, read only protects Kyle, because they basically, whoever Molly is, I'm sure she's really nice.
She's our captioner. So we send our script to our captioning company who's out in Denver, and they follow along on this script.
Oh, no way. Well, there you go, man. You got way more live usage than you give yourself credit for. That's actually a really awesome use case. Someone not in the control room, not even in the stadium, watches and follows along live with you. That's baller. Okay, cool. So anyways, read only is safe, right? No one can, no one can run around with a knife and hurt anybody. Then you have contributor, which is the idea they can help out in like a video or audio column, but they can't mess with the main flow of your game script or the timings. So it's still relatively safe, but you are giving them a little bit more responsibility. And then you have, of course, admin and show caller. Admin's going to be edit everything, invite people, manage access. Show caller is really the same thing as admin, just with the ability to broadcast your current position in the show. Cool. I'm going to keep rocking. We're almost there, buddy. What's your favorite feature in Shoflo? I love that. Dana Austin. I should have gotten to that one earlier.
I would say it's got to be the ability to move things around easily during the game. That's incredibly crucial to being able to execute a successful game for us. And because, like I said, so much changes during our game that it's absolute mayhem trying to – my boss said it interestingly that building the script is a science, but executing the script is an art.
Yeah.
And I heard that. I was like, oh, I've never thought about that. But it really kind of is. So, like, we have so much that moves during the game that we're having to try to fit all this stuff in, all the while making sure we have time to get back for the break, to make sure if it's a defensive break that we're ready to go, or an offensive break, that we're not distracting anything with the huddle or anything like that. So I would say it's got to be the ability to move things easily during the game. And then honestly, that's easily translated to when I'm building the script, that I can easily, hey, if where we're at right now, if the 50-50 raffle, if we want to move it a couple of blocks up earlier, we can easily do that, control up and down, and we're there. So I'd say it's the ease of moving line items.
I love it, man. And yeah, just to demonstrate what we're talking about there, if I was to just to visually identify things a little clearer, if we had a yellow and then let's see, we'll make this one, green. So you have a lot of different options of moving elements around, but one could just be good old classic arrow keys or arrow clicks. And that's just real easily popping it forwards or upwards or backwards. The other option is stuff that Kyle's referenced. We have all of the shortcuts up here, guys. If you haven't found that, that's this little question mark up here. So that's where you're going to find some goodies. Really recommend it if you're year 2 and on, even year 1. But if you haven't explored that little question mark, then your life's about to change, because that's where you need to, that's how you learn how to do everything you're doing 5 times faster. But anyways, the experience there is you can either hold control or command up or down, and that will just quickly move those around. The key things to know when you're doing that is that timing is being updated automatically. Right now, we're going to exit out of this with a minute, and it'll go to 6:48. But if I move that up, we can now see that, well, it's now 30 seconds, so 6:48 plus 30 is still 6:48, but it's 6:48:30. Anyhow, timing gets exciting, but it's also
a huge can of worms.
It's a can of worms, but if you know how to master the beast. All right, let's keep rocking. So from Bob, do you modify your script as the game dictates? I.e., have you had any issues with the log refreshing to all the users? Oh, I know what he's talking about. I can speak to that. But anyways, real quick, do you modify your script as the game dictates?
100%. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-stop during the game, we're moving the script.
Yep. Bob, if you, I know that was a bug. If I'd be curious to find out when you ran into it. They do happen. We work our best to get them out as soon as possible. There was, for a period of time, a thing where if you were tracking and you made an edit, it would sort of jump people to a different part of the script, which is not ideal. We apologize for that. We've got that fixed already. So if you are still experiencing that, Bob, hit us up. We'd love to talk to you more about that.
One thing real quick, I'll mention about kind of along those lines though. And one thing that we've done, Stephen, a couple of times is sometimes I'll actually open a different tab with the script open. So like this year, for example, we might have done it, but like when Drew Brees broke the Peyton Manning's touchdown record, it was actually in this script, but like there was the moment that we wanted it scripted out and everything. So we, I think, opened it in a separate tab, copied the show, just opened the same show up. And we were, it search record probably, or down there, 170 down there. So I think we actually opened this script up in a separate tab. So when it happened, we were able to quickly just jump to the other tab and track to that. So everybody was able to jump to that as well. Oh,
cool. Yeah. That's a great example too of like, so what we call in that space is dynamic game calling. That's like, I mean, that's basically the art form that your boss was talking about, which I think that's the best quote. It's at least the quote of the day, maybe even the quote of the month. We're only 7 days in, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. But I love that. It's the idea of like, you can do your best to script out a game. But then once it's in play, how do you roll with that? And how does Shoflo keep up with you? How are you kind of dragging Shoflo, trying to stay ahead? And so that's a good example. You're like, I think I'm going to go ahead and just make this a little easier on myself, open another tab. That both makes me, I'm happy to hear that because it's being creative and innovative. And at the same time, I hear that as an opportunity to build tools that make it a little easier for you to bump around, and do stuff like that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's do Caitlin Reese. Can you talk more about the game host and their duties during the game?
Yeah, we actually have 4 voices on a game, believe it or not. So we have Mark to my immediate left. Mark does down and distance, touchdowns, football, actual game action stuff.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman behind me who has the double stacked monitors. His name is David Storm. This was his first year in the role this past year. And David does all of our PA announcements. The majority of the PAs in our script, David does. From there, we had, so Mark is over in the black jacket over to the right. Behind me, this was a photo 2 years ago before we had Shoflo. That was Chuck Edwards. He unfortunately passed away shortly after last January. And he was our PA announcer for Saints and Pelicans. But you could see his binder there actually, where that was every single PA was in that binder before we had Shoflo. But so we had those 2 folks in the room with me. Then we have Mike, who's down on the field, as we mentioned, who does all of our interviews with legends, any kind of recap looking back at the game. He does a preview, a matchup of a game currently. He used to be a sportscaster here locally, so people know who he is. And then we actually, this past year, we had a girl named Carly record. She unfortunately passed away. You might remember from the plane crash in Lafayette right before the LSU football game. And so she was our in-stadium host in a sense that she was in the seats interacting with the fans more so. So she was doing our items of the game. She was doing our Junior Gumbo, Raising Cane's Lucky Row, those kind of more promotional things. So Carly was that voice there. And so we're looking forward to this with this season moving forward. We're looking for to fill that role, but a similar situation that person's going to be in there.
Yeah. All right. And then we'll just do two more here. So how closely do you work with the NFL TV broadcast crew / feed?
I don't work a whole ton. Some folks in our control room do a good bit more. The challenge that we have is, like I said in the beginning, our video board being 32:9 versus 16:9, we can't take too many of the network feeds. So I believe we actually have 11 of our own cameras during the game. And we have to use primarily our angles. We will during replays. We do take obviously what the replay machine is pushing out, and then there are times where we will go 2-box maybe with the network to be able to see what they have, and then sometimes we'll actually zoom in on different things if a person's foot's out of bounds, that kind of thing. But with network, we don't get to use a whole ton. We'll use the cart cam sometimes. We'll use the sky cam sometimes. But we are kind of confined by that. But it's also cool because sometimes we have an angle that network doesn't, and vice versa. So it can help us in that sense too.
Cool. Makes sense. All right, man. I think we're going to call it. I'll have to do part 2 with you.
I'm stuck at home, so I got time.
Yeah, well, it's funny. We still got like 115 people on here. So, hey, Kyle, share maybe some contact information so people can reach out to you if you do the Twitters or email, what have you.
Yeah, best way for me is definitely by email. It's just kyle.campbell@saints.nfl.com. Pretty simple there. Mm-hmm. You can follow me on Twitter if you want at KMCampbell7, I think it is. Just if you have any questions, please reach out. Once again, it's kyle.campbell@saints.nfl.com. I love talking about this stuff. I'm pretty darn passionate about what I do and love what I do, and definitely like helping people out and chatting more about things.
Cool. Well, dude, I appreciate it, and thanks for sharing what you've figured out and how you guys have figured out how to incorporate Shoflo into your world, and just in general. You're a stud, and you're knocking it out of the park, and you guys are putting on some of the coolest game pros out there, so that's awesome.
We try, so appreciate it.
Reminder, everybody, you can find Shoflo's webinars, including this one, within a day or two by going over to shoflo.tv, resources, webinars, and so that's where you'll be able to find previous ones that we've done before. And then upcoming, we've got we got something this week on Prompter, but in sports space, we've got actually Aaron, who's so awesome. We love Aaron. Vegas Golden Knights. And then we've got a cool one, if anyone's curious about this, John Deppa, Riot Games, esports. So it's sports, but it's a different kind of sports, and he's killing it and doing really, really cool stuff. If you yourself feel like you've got a great story to tell or want to be a part of this, reach out as well too, blue chat, bottom right, or to your, contact your here at Shoflo, and tell us you want to tell us how you show the world how you're doing it. We'd be happy to hear it. So with that, peace. Everybody stay safe, stay clean, and do your best. So I appreciate you, Kyle. Thanks, man, and have a great and wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Steven. Thanks, JP, too. I appreciate your help, man.